Welcome to the Instant Wrestling Report. Alongside Quad, I am your host J-Man. On this edition of the IWR, we're going to do a 2010 IWR award show, pretty much awarding the best in professional wrestling in 2010. The categories we have are Breakout, Comeback, Funniest Moment, Announcer, Shocker, Women's Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Pay-Per-View, the Match of the Year, Feud of the Year, and then finally the Wrestlers of the Year overall, the three biggest companies, which is TNA, Ring of Honor, and WWE, and then we'll have an overall Wrestler of the Year. We're going to start with the Breakout Wrestler of the Year, and I'm going to go with the Nexus leader at the time when they debuted, Wade Barrett. At the time when he debuted, which was really shocking, on Raw back in June. After that, he kind of vaulted himself into the main event feud. Going with, the Cenas and going, feuding with Cena and the Randys and the Sheamuses and all that big, huge feud they had in the fall. But I think Wade Barrett, the Breakout Wrestler of the Year. What do you got for that question?
Mine's The Miz. He started off the year tag champ, and then he won the U.S. title, and then he won Money in Bank, and then he ended up with the world title, and then he was an NXT coach, pro, and he just pretty much after he won the U.S. title, he jumped into the world title, and then after the Money in Bank, he automatically jumped into it. So
yes.
Mine is The Miz.
Somebody who was looked like as a just mid card guy, but finally vaulted himself into the main event feud, and now he's known as the WWE champion. Sad to say that, but next we're going to do our Comeback of the Year. This one you could probably go with quite a few people, but I actually went with the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels returning to Ring of Honor. And just that whole little time up in around April when he returned at the Big Bang. And I just thought it was great to see Daniels in a place where, he's welcome, a place where he should be, and a place where, they will give him the most opportunity to, proceed in probably around at the end of his career because he's getting up there in age. But I just thought it was great how they brought him in and how they made him, feel like, one of the biggest, cornerstones that Ring of Honor had.
Mine's Mr. Anderson. He had a very good match at Lockdown in St. Louis, and he also got title shots and had #1 contendership. And he's pretty much been in the title hunt the whole year after getting released by WWE, and then he came back after 90 days and signed with TNA, which I'm glad he went to TNA. Good place for him because he can talk the way he wants to talk.
Now the TNA World Heavyweight Champion defeating Jeff Hardy at Genesis, so big year for Mr. Anderson. For the funniest moment of the year, we're both going to have a common factor here, which is going to be the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I'm going with the Ric Flair, Jay Lethal, great promo they had back around, I believe it was June, around Slammiversary. And, just the back and forth that they had, the whole woos they were doing, everything, Rick throwing his shoe up at it, telling Jay Lethal to see what he has, and going back and forth, just, classic Rick, and Jay Lethal really proving that he could be up there with, even the biggest in promo cutters.
Mine's Ric Flair and Mick Foley during the EV2 Fortune feud. Just when Flair kept saying, you have balls, your balls are bigger. Just the way those two went back and forth and the history behind the two of them.
Yeah. For Announcer of the Year, this is pretty sad to say, but I mean, we couldn't go with the guys that are out there all the time, the Coles and the Kings and the Grishams and the Strikers, all like that. They're just so fake. They're so watered down. They're so WWE right now, just the way WWE is. So I'm actually going for the month time, I'd say, on Raw when CM Punk was the announcer. I felt he brought a realism. He brought, something that wasn't watered down, something that wasn't like that. He brought out jokes, wearing a Colt Cabana shirt out there when, that's a guy who's in Ring of Honor right now. That's hilarious. And, just all the stuff he said when, Cena spilled his diet soda when really he put somebody through a table, and it was just so minute, but it was just hilarious to see that.
Mine was the one night at Old School Raw, that one match when Jim Ross came back and announced Daniel Bryan versus Jack Swagger. Yeah. Just that one time, and then how he kept making fun of Michael Cole the whole time. It was just very good, and I wish JR would come back.
Yeah, one match for Jim Ross, an entire year for Michael Cole. That explains it right there. For Shocker of the Year, this is kind of a toss-up. I went with both the Edge return at Royal Rumble and the Nexus debut in June. I couldn't really decide for either. I was really shocked for both of them. The Edge return was just great because they did it at 29. They didn't do it at the typical 30 spot that you usually see somebody returning at a Royal Rumble. And just the shock value that it had there, and then moving on to wrestle Chris Jericho at WrestleMania where they had a pretty good match. And then also just the Nexus debut, one of the most shocking moments in Raw history, one of the most shocking moments in WWE history, where they brought out this great new young faction and just totally destroyed everything, destroyed John Cena, destroyed the ring, destroyed all the announcers, and it was just a great moment on Raw.
My shock of the year is Daniel Bryan returning at SummerSlam when it was Team WWE versus Team Nexus pretty much. Nobody knew what was happening. Everybody thought, me and him thought it was Triple H, not because we want Triple H back too. And then when Daniel Bryan came out, they announced that, we both were shocked. Especially since he supposedly got quote-unquote fired, which he did, from WWE for choking out the announcer with a tie, and then, because it was PG, and then him returning and fighting his former faction members, Nexus. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, very, very good there. For the Women's Wrestler of the Year, we're both going to go with the same woman here. We're going with Death Ray, which is Sarah Del Rey. Just the best independent women's wrestler out there, and in our opinion, is the best women's wrestler probably there. Unless they focus on other people, but that's another different matter there. Yeah, exactly. But Sarah Del Rey just destroys everyone. She works for 3 different companies: Chikara, Shimmers, and Ring of Honor. Very, very busy woman, and very deserving of the top women's wrestler of the year.
And she's also a part manager of the Queen of Wrestling, Kings of Wrestling. Very, very, very attractive too.
That's a different matter, but yeah. For Tag Team of the Year, speaking of the Kings of Wrestling, I am going to go with the Kings of Wrestling, the now longest reigning Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, taking it from the Briscoes. They have such great chemistry. I mean, really, you could only go on with probably 2 teams, and he'll have the other one here in a minute, but just the chemistry that they have is just so great. Reforming back in 2009, and then having this whole entire about year-long title run since April, the Big Bang. So Kings of Wrestling, my tag team of the year.
Mine are mostly Machine Guns.
Yep.
They finally got their title shot after a lengthy time of being tag team. They were kind of main card guys, and they kind of jumped into the tag title shot, and then they had a great 5-match series against Beer Money, which in my case pretty much made TNA worth watching.
Yeah. At least he got that right this time. He didn't say Beer Money, Beer Money Machine Guns thing from the last time. It's a great little time there. The next one we're going to go with is Pay-Per-View of the Year. Another common theme here. We're both going to have same company here. I'm going with Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor in June. I had a great match with Christopher Daniels and Kenny Omega. The first match with Kevin Steen and El Generico. A brutal no DQ match for the tag titles with the Kings of Wrestling and the Briscoes. And then had the great, 5-star match with one of the matches of the year for me with Tyler Black defending the title against Davey Richards, and Davey Richards getting defeated by Tyler Black. And just the whole entire, just culminating into this great pay-per-view in June for Ring of Honor.
Mine was Ring of Honor's Final Battle. I had the Davey Roderick match, which was unbelievable. They had the El Generico Kevin Steen match, that whole feud coming down to that one night, that one match, which was, in my case, probably one of the best street fights you will ever see in any pro wrestling company. Mine's Final Battle.
Okay, another common theme here with Match of the Year. We're going with the Career versus Streak match from WrestleMania 26 with the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Just what else can you say about this? The storytelling in this match was probably up to the best storytelling you could possibly get in a professional wrestling match. The whole entire end of it, where Shawn barely getting up and then slapping him, in defiance as Shawn always does, with the attitude and everything. Taker, taking him up and doing a jumping tombstone, which I don't think we've ever seen. Maybe into a casket one time, which was Shawn from Royal Rumble like '98, I think, something like that. But just overall culminating to this, which in my opinion will be the end of Shawn Michaels' wrestling career. He won't pull the Flair, go wrestle somewhere else or go wrestle again, probably in my opinion. But as we saw, on this past edition of Raw, where he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, which we will have a special edition of that on Shawn Michaels alone, but that's another episode. But overall, we're going with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker from WrestleMania 26.
And just the whole, they had at 26, they also had a match at 25, which pretty much knew they were going to do something at 26, and then Taker faced Flair at 24, and then they tried to compare the 24 to 26. 26 is hands down better match.
Yeah, me and Truth attended the 25 review there, not at this edition of, but there you go, Truth. For the feud of the year now, I'm going to go with probably the biggest one, the most obvious one out there, which is the Cena versus Nexus feud in WWE. Just from the very start in June, like we talked about with the Shocker, where Nexus debuted in June and, just terrorized John Cena, terrorized everything else, and moving on and just aiming for the #1 guy in WWE, which is John Cena, and, this whole entire thing culminating in numerous different matches where they had one at SummerSlam with the tag match. They had one with Barrett, around, I think, they had where he reffed at Survivor Series, and then they had it to where they had that chairs match, horrible main event at TLC. But, just overall, the bigness of that feud is feud of the year for me.
Mine was Kevin Steen, or ROH feud of Kevin Steen and El Generico, the year-long feud between the former tag partners that started at Final Battle of 2009 and ended at Final Battle of 2010. Just the whole back and forth, and then Steen taking Generico's mask off, and then just the hatred the two had against each other just made that feud unbelievable, unsatan.
Yeah. Now we're going to get to our wrestlers of the year. We're going to go back and forth here with Ring of Honor, TNA, and WWE. For me, my Ring of Honor wrestler of the year is going to go to the American Wolf, Davey Richards. Just one of the best wrestlers in the world today. His mat work, he's got a freaking shooting star. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Just the guy is just out of this world when it comes to wrestling ability, and he doesn't even really want to do this for his real job. He wants to be a paramedic, and that's just amazing to me. And I do believe that it will probably culminate in him getting a world title eventually in probably 2011, hopefully.
My Ring of Honor is Tyler Black, just for the January, September when he was here, and he left for WWE, and then down the minors to Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
But just him having the title, him facing any challengers that came towards him, yeah. Davey Roderick,
Austin Aries,
yeah. All of them, and then him going to WWE, which I don't think he should stay. He should stay in ROH. Just the way he left too was kind of iffy, but Tyler Black's my ROH wrestler of the year.
TNA, we're both going to have another common factor here. We're going with the phenomenal AJ Styles. Just in my opinion, he's the best professional wrestler in the world today. His athleticism, his charisma, he's got everything. He's the absolute full package. Five-tool player is the baseball reference there.
And he also has Ric Flair as one of his mentors helping him up become, hopefully, ROH.
Or TNA World Champ. Wish he was ROH champion.
Yeah.
That'd be beautiful. For WWE, I'm going to go with Legend Killer, as he was used to know, now the Viper, Randy Orton. Just when he turned face, we all knew that he would be, now known as one of the top guys, or he was always one of the top guys, but now get looked up as like the John Cena as the #1 guy in the company. Just to me, he's, deserves this position. I don't really like him as a face. I prefer him as a heel. But, from what he's done, he was WWE champion, winning it at Night of Champions. Just pretty much almost carrying Raw the entire time, and just a great overall wrestler, and that's why Randy Orton is my wrestler of the year for WWE.
My WWE wrestler of the year is The Miz, even though I don't like him. He winning the tag titles, winning the U.S. title, winning the Money in the Bank, winning the world title, just all that combined in 1 year, pretty much gives him probably one of the better WWE years they have.
For my overall wrestler of the year, I'm sticking with Randy Orton. I mean, what else is there to say? I'm just overall, well, it wasn't one of his best years, but overall in 2010 wasn't really solid with TNA, but or TNA and some of the other places, but not Ring of Honor. I'm going with Randy Orton for my overall wrestler of the year.
My overall wrestler of the year is my TNA pick, AJ Styles. Win the title, but losing it to
RVD,
where he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Becoming part of Immortal and Fortune, and then currently he's kind of on the iffy end of Immortal, both of them, and he's also battling injuries. Yeah. He had won the global title against Rob Terry. That became the TV title, and then he lost it. It's just he shouldn't have lost the title. He should have it. Even though former WWE people are coming in trying to take over, they shouldn't have taken it from the veteran of AJ Styles.
Thank you for joining us for yet another edition of the Instant Wrestling Report. Alongside Quad, I'm your host, J-Man. Be sure to check us out this weekend where we have our IWR Weekly and more special editions, more than likely. And your source for professional wrestling news, information, and opinions, the Instant Wrestling Report.
This is a battleground!